Thank you. All right. Okie dokie. All right, so this is on developing buy-in. It's a fairly short little presentation. Doesn't take a lot of time. Okay. So we'll crack into it and get it done. Hopefully, assuming this works. All right, there we go. Okay, so what we're going to go through is the idea of buy-in. What we mean when we talk about buy-in in terms of an association, in terms of a club, and when we're talking about it as a coach, when we're dealing with individuals. Why we need it, who we need it from, and also how do we go about getting it. And that's the big kicker. Mercy, evening. All right, so moving on. Damn it. Come on, there we go. All right, so what do we mean when we say buy-in? And so the definition, the understanding that we're going to use for this is the process of getting others to actively be involved with actions that are not of their own design. Okay, so I didn't come up with the idea, but I choose to take part in it, even though I'm not the one who came up with it, and I may not have any control over it. So what we've got here is 4 of the lads from one of the camps, and they're actually in a nightclub in their wrestling suits, posing for a photo in front of like heaps of people. Normally, the only time you wear a wrestling suit is when you're actually wrestling. So why? The idea has to have evolved from someone, yeah? It's not the sort of thing that would randomly happen. And this is what we're talking about. We're talking about buy-in. This is the process of how does one person convince the other 3 that, hey, this is a good idea and we should do it. And this will be great. This will be fun. Okay. And it's that motivational factor which gets the other 3 to buy into this idea that, yeah, come on, this will be funny. We should do this. Okay, this will be a great photo. And it was. It's a great little photo that the boys did. You know, that's what we're talking about when we're talking about buy-in. You see it a lot with companies when they create marketing strategies and that sort of thing. That's why Coca-Cola is so good at it. Okay, Coca-Cola, Monster, Apple, you know, these sorts of companies, they get people to buy into this idea, all right, which we'll get onto shortly. So what do we mean by it? Okay, and it's got different meanings when we're talking about different groups. So when we look at the athletes, it's that willingness to accept the plan from the coach and to buy into that plan and to follow it. I'm asking you as a player to be at training on time and to work really hard when you're here and to trust that I've got a plan to get you to help you win matches. Okay. And then when you're not in the training on the mat, we've got a strength and conditioning coach who's got a plan to develop that person into a stronger, better, faster, whatever. So if we, as coaches, if we can't get people to buy into this idea and to trust and follow that plan, then we're not going to get compliance with that training plan, And therefore, we're not going to get that result because the athlete won't invest the time and they don't trust us. Okay. For our volunteers and our officials, you can't run a club, an association, a team without your volunteers. Not possible, not going to happen. You need those people. And what we're talking about with them is, Miss Naomi, good timing. This is all about you. So with our volunteers, it's the willingness to put in that we need them to buy into this idea that, and to buy into the idea of the association, the club, the vision of what we want to achieve here. And we're asking them to put in their time, their effort, to do the additional training, to become a referee or a coach or a medic or a timekeeper or whatever it happens to be. Okay. So that's when we're talking about buy-in from them. And when we talk about clubs and other associated organizations, when we're asking them to, we are, again, similar to our volunteers, we're asking them to buy into this idea of the vision, that we're going to create this amazing, fun, exciting association that is going to help all these kids and help Zambia as a country become, a respected location in terms of wrestling. That this is a journey worth your time. So we need them to believe in that vision and to buy into the idea. And that's the thing, which we'll get onto on the next slide, I think, pretty sure. Hopefully, if something works. Maybe, there we go. So why do we need it? So there's an old saying, it takes a village to raise a child. So the question I'd pose from this is, well, what does it take to raise a village? Because that's what we're talking about. We're talking about an association or a team. We're not just talking about a singular individual. That one single individual doesn't help us. Okay, to get that one individual who might get to an Olympics, we need 100 others. That's just players. That's not all the support staff. Okay, to have 2 players on a mat, we need 2 coaches, 3 referees, plus support. Minimum for any 2 players on the mat. Straight away, we need a minimum of 5 other people. Okay, so hence the question. Well, if it takes a village to raise a child, well, what does it take to raise a village? Okay, and this is why it matters. Okay, the best programs, the most successful businesses, they don't just rely on one guy. Okay, Apple, the big thing was Steve Jobs. Steve Jobs, Apple, Steve Jobs and Steve Wozniak. Okay, Steve Jobs died. Apple didn't vanish. Apple is still going. Apple is still one of the biggest tech companies in the world. Okay, that's the importance of buying. Apple keeps going because people believe in Apple. Okay, I couldn't even tell you who started Coca-Cola. Okay, back in the Second World War. That's, again, power of buy-in, power of belief in a brand and identity. You think of all your top sporting teams, any of your favorite sporting teams, the owners change all the time. Okay, and they've got many owners and had many owners over many years. The founders are, in most cases, long gone, dead and buried. But the vision and the dream persists. This is the end state for buying. This is what we're looking for. That's the nth degree. But when we're looking at it from a local level, from a coach level, it's about, we cannot build a player in one season. That's not how players work, okay? Particularly when you're dealing with youth, okay? you need to be prepared to invest the better part of a decade, okay, to get somewhere. To achieve success and longevity, we need everybody to share the dream. That, and like we've been saying, that's the essence of buy-in. That is why this matters. Okay, this is the shared vision. And that's why that, going back to what we were looking at before, Raphael and I, looking at your prospectus with the vision statement, that's why that vision is so important, and sharing that with others, going, hey, look, this is what we're going to achieve. It's a stretch target. It's unachievable. But lots of things are. We need others to share that big dream. Okay? So, and that's the idea when we're looking to create buy-in, and why it matters when we talk about things like this. We're asking this player to bust their guts every day. When they're in the room, when they're in the gym, they're working hard. The reality is that they may never get to an Olympics. And if they get to an Olympics, they may never actually win a match. But we need them to go on this journey. Because without those people, how will we continue to grow this sport? And at some level, they know that they may never make it there. But it's not about the destination, it's about the journey. But we need them to buy into the dream and the vision and the possibility that maybe I could get to an Olympics and maybe I could win some matches. And oh my God, that would be amazing. All right. Who do we need it from? Like we said before, we need it from the athletes. That's obvious. We need it from their parents. We need it from our volunteers, our staff, and our officials. So that's all good. The big one, sponsors. They need to share this. They need to buy in. Okay. So for coaches, we need it from athletes and parents and our volunteers. From an association level, we need it from athletes, volunteers, parents, staff and officials, sponsors, the community. From club level, again, similar. Athletes are still there, parents are still there, volunteers are still there, and maybe your own club staff and officials. Okay. If you've got club sponsors, then obviously you need buy-in from them as well. And at all levels, at all times, we need buy-in from our community. Okay. Back to that saying that we was talking about before. Takes a village to raise a child. Well, we're trying to make a village. We need a lot more than just one or two people. All right. So moving on. So how do we get it? This is the $1 million question, literally. Okay. There's lots of stuff around. It is a highly individualized process. Okay. It is not a single thing that works on everybody. And it takes a lot of work and a lot of practice to figure all this out. This is the best condensed version that I could come up with to make this make sense. Okay, so before we can get anywhere, we need to answer a few critical questions. You have to sit down and answer these before you can go anywhere. Okay, who are you trying to get buy-in from? Who do we need this from? Are we talking about athletes? Are we talking about parents? Are we talking about other coaches? Are we talking about clubs? Who are these people? Who are they? Why should they buy into this? What's in it for them? Okay. When we're talking about buy-in in this sense, what does that look like? Are we talking about money? Are we talking about time? Are we talking about effort? Are we talking about trust? What are we looking for from this person? When we're saying we really need them to buy into this program for us, to be part of this, to come on this journey, what are we actually asking? That all sounds very great. Hey, yeah, okay, we'd really love you to be involved. Fantastic. What do you want? Okay, and that's what they're looking for. So what does that look like? You know, when you're asking them to be involved, what are you asking exactly? Okay, and consequently, once you know that, well, how are you going to make their involvement worth it for them? You want my time, okay, and you want my assistance and my knowledge and my experience. That's fine. I'm okay. Yeah, cool. All right, I can see that. Why the hell should I help you? What's in it for me? So, and we would normally call this a value proposition. Okay, there has to be something in it for the other party, even if that's that just feeling good about life, the universe, and everything. That's nice, but the more you can get me to buy into this idea, there's something in this for me. Yeah, I got your back. Don't you worry. My cause, your cause is my cause now because there's something in this for me. I go somewhere out of this. And that could be developing my networks. So if I'm an athlete, for example, that may be I get the opportunity to go to these competitions. I go to, I can make a career out of this. This could be something I could do. I like this game. This is good fun. Okay. If it's a parent, this could be a future for their child. This could be an opportunity for them to become involved in the community. Maybe it's an opportunity for them to develop their career and their opportunities within the theater of sport. Different people are motivated by different things, but there has to be a value proposition. Why? Why did they want to do that? Maybe it's just to help their family. My son enjoys the sport. I want to see the sport grow because it helps him, and I want other children to have that chance as well. Okay, but yeah, we need to understand this, and it's not the same for these different groups. There's a club in Kasama. We need them to buy into the idea of the association, to be more involved, to be more active. And I'm not saying that they aren't, I'm simply using that as an example. But if we want that, then we've got to go back to these questions. Why do we need them to buy in? Why should they? What's in it for them? What makes it, what does their buy-in look like? What do we want from them? And how do we make it worth their time? Okay, so we know why we can come up with why we think they should buy in, but now you've got to put their hat on and go, okay, what's in it for me? Why am I going to do this? Why am I going to pay my membership fees? Why am I going to give you content for your website and this sort of thing? What's in it for me? All right, cool. All right, so I'll see if this video works, but we're looking at something called Start With Why. Actually, wow, we're going time-wise. Yeah, okay. All right, that's the link. Look him up. It's called Start With Why. Okay, it's a Start With Why TED Talk. Jump on YouTube, look that up, watch that. It really touches on this idea of what motivates people and how people work. Okay, so what he's looking at, and basically what he's saying is that people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. Okay, wrestling is the product. That's the end result. Okay. We're a wrestling association. We make wrestlers. Whoopee. Nobody cares. Why? Why do we do this? We do this to help young people so that they have a fun, safe, exciting activity that can take them places in their life. Cool. That's part of that. And that is intrinsic. That's the intrinsic part that we need with the buy-in. We need to communicate the why. This is why it matters. Because when they're getting involved in sport, they're healthy, they're engaged, and this has positive effects in their life, in our communities, and this can give these kids a future. It can get them scholarships, it can get them opportunities to travel, get them an education, you know, and it can take our country somewhere that it wasn't before. And then we lead to, how do we do it? Well, we do it with clubs. We do it with, you know, having this team that does all these things. We have partnerships with universities. That's how we do it. And what do? Well, we offer these great programs. Okay. So, like I said, I do strongly recommend you have a look at the TED Talk on this. So the why is about getting the person to connect with the vision or the dream. This is what we're hoping to do, is to make Wrestling Association of Zambia into a world, you know, into a major national wrestling federation. Great, awesome. Why? Why, you know, if I'm John Average on the street, why do I care about that? So this is why that's important. Get this part of that equation right, and suddenly we want to build this great national association for this sport that you've probably never heard of. That's when Joe starts to go, you know, well, okay, so, but when you can get Joe to see the why, that, hey, this is a sport that can provide our kids, your kids and your family with work, with education, with opportunities for travel, and, you know, this can improve the quality of life for our young people for generations to come. Okay. Now we might be getting somewhere. We might start getting to those things that John really does value, that they're important to him. All right, cool. So I'm not going to play that because it's about 18 minutes, 20 odd minutes. So down on a face-to-face level, what does that look like? What do we need to be? Okay, we have to be genuine. Okay, the whole salesman thing will not work. Okay. Well, it does work, but it's short-sighted and it's really not a great way of doing it. If we're going to do this and try to approach people in this way, we need to be genuine, 100%. We need to be patient, okay? When you'll see this in the video, but when we approach people with a new idea, something different, there's a very small percentage that are prepared to get involved early. So you have to be patient. You have to be willing to take no for an answer a number of times. Okay, it takes time to get those early people who are willing to take an interest and to take a chance on you, and they're the ones who will bring others. Okay, the first follower, I think, was the video. I'll see if I can find it after this. But it's a good way to understand what happens with, we talk about tipping points, and you'll see it in the Simon Sinek in the TED Talk does talk about it. It's a very interesting idea when you think about leadership and how you get people involved. Be consistent, okay? Just genuine, patient, consistent. The message is always the same. The vision is there. This is what the vision is. This is where we're going. Okay, if the vision's all over the place, we're jumping from here to here to here, that does not encourage the larger populace to have faith and confidence that you know what you're doing. Okay. You need to be prepared to personally invest. Okay, that's whether that's in time, whether that's in money, whether that's in effort, whatever. But, and the next one is, you know, walk the talk. Okay, so if you say this is what matters and what's important, you've got to be following that up. Okay, particularly in sport. Okay, this is why the whole doping thing is such a problem for us. If we get players and coaches and leaders involved in doping, corruption, dodgy practices, it doesn't just damage that person, it damages the entire sport, and it just completely undermines everything we're trying to achieve. Okay, that's when you end up with massively falling numbers in your sport. Like we have here in Australia at the moment, we have our national championships next weekend, weekend after, whatever it is. We have a grand total of 8 under-17 wrestlers for the entire country. We have 1 female wrestler under 17 going to this competition. And it's not Cray, it's another girl. So, I mean, the behavior, the actions of people within the sport affect the players' mental health. The players then just go, you know what? I'm not doing this. And that's not good for the sport. We go from 100 players last year. We're now down to less than 70 this year. Okay, it's up from what it was. They were looking at having a national competition where they only had 20 people for their entire national competition. That's terrible. Okay, so the leadership needs to lead. Okay, it means you've got to be all of these things that are on the list. That's what you've got to be putting into practice if you want other people to buy into this. Yeah. All right. So what we looked at. So we looked at what we meant by buy-in. We looked at why we need it, why it matters, who we need it from, and how we get it. Like I said, it's not a quick process. It's not an easy formula. It's just, for the most part, it's a long, slow grind. Okay. If you can reach out to more people, then you can hit those percentages faster. I'm not going to get into the percentages. Simon does it in his talk. So, but from a grassroots level, it's just a grind. It's just a lot of hard work, but that's the process that is followed. All right. So I think that is it. Yes, it is. Good. I'll jump out of that. And what I will do is I will pull up all right, I'll see if I can find it. There we go. All right. So I'll stop that before it goes silly.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's...
Okay. So, all right, so I'm just going to share this. And it's just looking at leadership and the concept of what we're talking. The concept he's talking about is called the first follower. So it's not
watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader.
Shush. Right. Okay. So the concept's called the first follower. And it just sort of starts to pull apart a couple of the ideas where leadership is concerned. So we'll just have a quick look at that. All right.
If you've learned a lot about leadership and making a movement, then let's watch a movement happen start to finish in under 3 minutes and dissect some lessons. First, of course, a leader needs the guts to stand alone and look ridiculous. But what he's doing is so simple, it's almost instructional. This is key. You must be easy to follow. Now here comes the first follower with a crucial role. He publicly shows everyone else how to follow. Notice how the leader embraces him as an equal. So it's not about the leader anymore. It's about them, plural. Notice how he's calling to his friends to join in. So it takes guts to be a first follower. You stand out, you brave ridicule yourself. Being a first follower is an underappreciated form of leadership. The first follower transforms a lone nut into a leader. If the leader is the flint, the first follower is the spark that really makes the fire. Now here's the second follower. This is a turning point. It's proof the first has done well. Now it's not a lone nut and it's not two nuts. 3 is a crowd and a crowd is news. A movement must be public. Make sure outsiders see more than just the leader. Everyone needs to see the followers because new followers emulate followers, not the leader. Now here come 2 more people, then 3 more immediately. Now we've got momentum. This is the tipping point, and now we have a movement. As more people jump in, it's no longer risky. If they were on the fence before, there's no reason not to join in now. They won't stand out, they won't be ridiculed, and they will be part of the in crowd if they hurry. And over the next minute, you'll see the rest who prefer to stay part of the crowd, because eventually they'd be ridiculed for not joining. And ladies and gentlemen, that is of how a movement is made. So let's recap what we've learned. If you are a version of the shirtless dancing guy, all alone, remember the importance of nurturing your first few followers as equals, making everything clearly about the movement, not you. Be public, be easy to follow. But the biggest lesson here, did you catch it? Leadership is over-glorified. Yes, it started with the shirtless guy, and he'll get all the credit. But you saw what really happened. It was the first follower that transformed a lone nut into a leader. There's no movement without the first follower. See, we're told that we all need to be leaders, but that would be really ineffective. The best way to make a movement, if you really care, is to courageously follow and show others how to follow. When you find a lone nut doing something great, have the guts to be the first person to stand up and join in.
Righto. Yeah. So like I said, so that's a really good way to capture what Simon talks about in the TED Talk when it comes to why and how people get involved. When he's talking about the percentages are great, but that little clip sort of captures what that looks like in terms of people. You know, that the starts with that one guy, then he's joined by a second guy, then another one, then a couple more, then a couple more. So, and everything that they're saying in that lines up with you have a why, which gives you your leader and your first followers and that sort of thing. But then we come into that building momentum. And once you reach that point, then things start to happen. But they don't start to happen unless you've got those first couple of things in place. That's what we're talking about. We're talking about buy-in. That's what that looks like. Okay. Getting those people to accept this idea as that's normal and it's fun and it's okay and I can be involved. It's safe. I'm not at risk of looking like an idiot. Okay. Takes courage to lead. Takes courage to be a follower as well, especially in the early days. So yeah, hopefully that kind of covers the idea of buy-in, what it is, how to get it, and what, like when, if you look at Simon's presentation, I'll drop that link in there as well. Actually, give me 2 seconds and I will, so the guy, Simon Sinek is the guy's name. So I'll just drop the link into the chat so everybody can grab it. Because it may not have showed up or may not be accessible. Well, it won't be accessible in the video of this, in the recording. But yes, so grab that and I'll drop it into the, I'll drop this and the shirtless guy into the chat for everybody. So, oh, frying it loud. Shush. Sorry. Okay. Yeah, so have a look at that. Like I said, that one's about 18 minutes. You've just seen the shirtless guy one. But when he's talking about the percentages, that's why that the dancing guy on the hill is a good example, because that's an actual vision. It's easier to comprehend that idea of what that tipping point looks like when you see it in action. So yeah, hope that helped. I'll post this tomorrow, and that is pretty much it from me. Any questions, any problems? I know people have had internet issues tonight. So, yeah. Are we happy? All good? Any more for any more? Okay. All right. So we do need to make time probably in the next week to work out what the rest of the prospectus looks like. Raphael and I were talking about it briefly before. We just need to work out the sponsorship levels and some other information to go into the prospectus so that there's something there for people to take to potential sponsors, new clubs, etc., to get them involved. Again, going back to, oddly enough, buy-in. All right. Everybody happy? Going once, going twice. All right. All right. Well, thanks to everybody for making the time and the effort. Yeah, I understand it's a bit challenging over there with the internet, so thank you very much. If you have questions, if there's ideas or there's things that we would like to cover, I'll probably do the the referee one again next week. Hopefully we have a better day, because I know Angela's feeling a bit behind and overwhelmed, and so if we can help her out, that would be useful. So yeah. And we also need to have a chat about what the plan is for August for nationals, and also if we're going to have anyone to go down to Johnny Ritt's Big Five. So yeah. Okay. Good night, everybody. Again, thanks for your time. Really appreciate it. And I will turn that recording off, hopefully, if I can. There we go.